For example, like if you're oiling your braids, I would recommend not to oil your braids because that will then create more buildup and then more dirt and dust will get stuck onto your braids. Texture, I think when I've used it previously in the past after I've had my braids on, I kept feeling like this like matty. Hello my lovelies, I'm still blonde. Just got the braids done. I don't know, whenever I get fresh braids, it's just, oh, new person. Who's that? Who is she? Me. Okay, so I just wanted to share a few tips on how to take care of blonde knotless braids. I mean, it was like, it's almost like every other braid, but I think like not, because it's blonde, there's just like a extra, you know, care step that you need to put in just to be able to have the hairstyle looking good for as long as possible. So let's jump right into it. So even before you install the braids, make sure you've gotten your hair nicely washed and cleaned, and if you can even do like a treatment before getting your braids done, even better. That will just help, you know, the hair just like lay together all at once. Let's talk about frizz. Frizz is the one thing that can turn your braids from looking like woo to looking like a hot mess, okay? So you just need to be able to maintain the frizz as much as possible. So a product that I just started using and I'm loving it so far is this Cream of Nature Pure Honey. It is a mousse and I really like it. I like it so far. It smells really nice and you don't even have to use that much. So they already put mousse for me when I was just did my hair, so I'm not gonna put any more, but you know, they just sprayed a little bit, put it on my head, and then put the cloth, and I was just sitting there like, ooh, I'm feeling pretty. And then, you know, the mousse dried down, and it really helps to maintain the frizz of your hair. Okay, and another way to prevent frizz, not just of your natural hair, but of the braids itself, I think when they're done braiding their hair, it's essential that they dip it into water just to make sure that everything lays flat and everything lays nicely, and that also is a great way to prevent frizz on the braids. Okay, so once your braids are in, once you've got the braids in, okay, you've got the braids in, once you've got the braids in, remember to handle your braids with care. So excessive manipulation, like if you do too many things to your hair all the time, that's just going to increase the frizz. And I think I've noticed that a lot of the times your braids start to like have frizz, especially at the bottom. So even when sitting, I think for me, for example, now if I'm sitting down and I'm just sitting on a chair, I don't just sit, I make sure to bring my braids forward just so that way my braid and my back and the chair are not like rubbing against each other, and so that way then you're creating friction and just making the ends of the hair more frizzy. And when it's time to hit the hay, don't forget about your scarf. You definitely have to wrap your head in the scarf. So because my braids are super thin, I can just like take it up and just like roll it into 2 buns, and then I can put my scarf on top, and that's just a great way for me to go to sleep. And then that way it's not rubbing and friction against the bed if I'm tossing and turning or having a bad dream. The braids are just like all together at once. You can put a silk pillowcase on your pillow, and you can also have a silk hair bonnet if you have one as well, just to prevent your braids from moving around as well. I think if you don't have like silk, you can also just use an old stocking, because the stocking also just like it just holds everything together in case you don't have any silk. Now let's move on to maintaining the braids, like maintaining the color, because you know you want to be blonde and you don't want to be like a what is it called, dusty blonde or dirty blonde. No, you want to be like, you want to have like that platinum blonde look. You want to be like striking blonde, okay? So in order to maintain that, because it's blonde hair, it tends to get dirty more quickly or look dirty more quickly than other colors of hair. So we just want to make it look as platinum as possible for as long as possible. You need to make sure that your scalp is clean, so try and keep your scalp as clean as possible. I've seen some people rubbing like spirit on their scalps. I haven't tried that personally, but I think it also works well. But I personally just like to wash the scalp, and you know, you can take like, you can do like a dry wash of sorts where you get some cotton and some shampoo, and then you just like rub in between the lines very neatly so you don't like disturb it too much, and then you know, get also some water and just wash it off properly, and just be very gentle, especially like while washing your braids or your scalp, just so you don't mess up the whole hairstyle. So make sure to wash your scalp with a sulfate-free shampoo, because remember, sulfate isn't so good for natural hair. So use a sulfate-free shampoo. And also, if you can find specifically, I haven't been able to find like synthetic braid shampoo in Nairobi, but if you can find synthetic braid shampoo specifically, go right ahead, use that. That's going to be really good to maintain your braids, but I just use regular shampoo for regular hair on my braids. So after you finish washing your braids, make sure to just like just get a towel and just like pat them dry as well. So don't rub the towel against your hair, because that will then create more frizz, and then the braids are not going to look as new and as fresh as they were as possible. But definitely washing your braids will bring back the vibrant color, because the braid will look a bit dull because of like dust and oils and everything in the hair. And in that same sentence, there are certain products that are usually meant for braids that I think, particularly on blonde braids, don't work as well. So for example, like if you're oiling your braids, I would recommend not to oil your braids, because that will then create more buildup, and then more dirt and dust will get stuck onto your braids, and then it's not gonna look blonde. You're not gonna be blonde. You're gonna be a different color. You turn into a brunette. So we don't want to be brunettes. Okay, so a product that I personally, I like Dark and Lovely, but this product specifically, I think it's called Fresh Start Wash and Free. I think it leaves the hair looking a little bit matted. Even when I had brown braids, I think sometimes when I would use this, I would feel like the hair texture would feel a little bit matted. But we can do an experiment shortly after I finish explaining, just so you can see. We can put these three products against each other to see what's going to work best. So I've got the olive oil sheen for nourishing spray, and then we have the hair food, the styling mousse, and then we also have the Dark and Lovely. So we're going to try that on some strands of hair, and we can see what's gonna look good, but not on blonde, but on darker hair, just so we can see the difference. Just to summarize it, if you want your braids looking fresh, make sure to clean it as often as possible, just so if you see the color starts to turn dark, especially if you live in an area that's very dusty, just wash the braids. And then also your scalp, make sure to keep your scalp clean as well. And when sleeping, make sure to wrap up your hair, just so you don't have excessive frizz. And in case you do get excessive frizz on your braids, you can also just dip your braids into hot water and then just like pull it down with a towel, and that will just flatten everything up. Okay, now let's get into the experiment. So here, my darlings, we've got Sylvia. I don't have a dummy, so I'm using a hanger that just has ridges. So we can leave this piece over here without anything, and then this first piece here, we're going to spray on some Dark and Lovely. And then the next, we're going to go in with the mousse, and last but not least, we're going to go in with the sheen. So let me bring you closer so you can see everything go down. And I think I could also just like put it just to sort of mimic how you would. You can just pull that, and also the texture as well. I feel the texture, like I do feel like I've got like I feel like I have something on my fingers. It feels like something. And then we can go in that amount of mousse, that into the hair. The mousse as well does feel like there's something, but it doesn't feel like a waxy layer. I don't know how to explain it. And then last but not least, the sheen. So yeah, I think the sheen feels the least, like there's something on the hair. The sheen has the least, like my hands don't feel like there's something on there. So actually I think maybe the sheen would be the best for braids. So I'm gonna leave this out for about 10 minutes or so, just so it can air dry, and then we can have like a very close look. I'll even put a different lens so we can have a closer look at the hair and see which one worked best.
5 hours later.
And remember, this is the order of which we put the products in. Let's look at the braids. So this is the first braid without anything in it, with the Dark and Lovely. Yes, I need to look at this on the computer just to see it better, but I mean, touching it it's been about an hour. I actually completely forgot, and it still has that like texture on it. And then this is the mousse, the sheen. So the sheen doesn't feel like there's much on it. I mean, it is a bit shiny, but it doesn't feel like much on it. The mousse, oh, actually the mousse feels
like it has the least amount of product on it.
So after analyzing the 3 products and spraying them onto the braids, I definitely don't think that the Fresh Start wash-free braid refreshener is the best for synthetic hair. I would recommend it maybe just for the scalp, but it definitely does leave like a texture. I think when I've used it previously in the past, after I've had my braids on, I kept feeling like this like matty texture of sorts. Like, I don't know how to explain, like a waxy feel, or like you just feel something, like there's something on it. I think the mousse felt pretty good. I didn't feel much of the mousse, but the sheen I think was the best. I felt nothing on the sheen, it just felt silky smooth. So I would recommend, definitely recommend sheen spray for braids. And also the mousse I would recommend for maybe just starting your scalp and laying it down, and also laying down the hair because it doesn't leave that texture. Remember, especially if you've got blonde braids remember, especially if you have blonde braids, you don't want to put something that's very heavy on the braids, because that as well will make the color look very dull and almost matted. If you want to watch another video on taking care of knotless braids, I've created another video specifically for taking care of Bohemian braids. I'll put it, is it here? Somewhere. I'll put it here so you can watch it. Bye!